Good afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are. What the hell is going on at Leicester? It's going to be an interesting news show tonight. We're going to be looking at the breaking news that Fofana has asked apparently not to play for Leicester, and also the fact, well, we're looking at his press conference, Brendan Rodgers, and maybe some gaps that maybe tell us more than he wanted to tell us. But this is Leicester Till I Die TV. It's the news and press conference show.
You are watching Leicester Till I Die TV with Chris and Chumps. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Pinterest. All you need for everything Leicester City FC. It's Leicester Till I Die TV.
Please subscribe now on YouTube.
Broadcasting live worldwide.
And now, here's your host.
Right, Chris.
What is going on at Leicester City? Not so long ago, we were held up as this amazing club that gets everything right. We get good signings generally. We sell them on for really good money. We are run well. We've got a good owner. Something's going on at this club. I don't know what it is. Should we stop buying petulant Frenchmen? Because they seem to cause us nothing but trouble over the years. To be honest with you, Fofana, if you don't want to play for us, I'll tell you what I would do. You've just signed a 5-year contract. We've paid your wages for 10 months in full while you've been sat on your arse and not playing. And this is how you repay us. I'll tell you what we should do. We should grow some balls. We should stick you in the under-23s and then see who comes running for you when they can't see you all the time. And see if you get into the French World Cup squad. Reckon you'll do that if you're in the under-23s? And while you're there, you can join with your lowland friends, the Netherlands, because maybe that friend should stuff in as well. What is going on? This is Leicester Till I Die TV, news and press conference show. Welcome along.
Watch us on YouTube. Listen on your favourite podcast platform. Or ask your smart speaker to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die. Broadcasting live worldwide.
What's going on, Brad? Good evening.
Hey, good evening, mate. Might be easier to figure out one of the world's unsolvable problems than it would be to solve out what's going on, because it's something that kind of creeps slowly over the weeks, and over the last 3 or 4 days, as you know, I'll make a reference to comedian here, ventriloquist, but it's like being out on the beach, isn't it? We looked up and we're like, oh, look, a little cloud. And 5 minutes later, we're like, everything's gone berserk. Yeah, I know you'll clip that and make that into a video, but that's why I did the point, mate. Everything's just gone absolutely nuts and everybody's losing their minds, as an infamous actor once said in the role of the Joker. Everybody loses their minds, you know? But here we are, once again.
Yeah.
You know,
say hello to Ant. Fair play to Brendan. Finally got a bit of bottle of vitamin drop. Wes, I don't think he did. I think Wes, according to The Athletic, and let's just bring this in. We were talking before with Brad. Is there certain sources, shall we say, that I and I think we all tend to sort of believe more than others. Some have, certain ones. Now, for me, Rob Tanner. He knows Leicester inside out for obvious reasons. He seems to know more about what's going on than most journalists. And I have him up there, probably even slightly higher than Fabrizio at the moment, with knowing what's going on at Leicester. Sky Sports, I think they've pretty much got their finger on the pulse, more so than some of the tabloids. And the Sun, for me, only because it is owned by the same people that own Sky. So you can't diss one and praise the other. So currently, Fofana has to be left out. So Brendan didn't go a pair of balls. Fofana dropped his, like the petulant school kid that he is. Maybe his balls have finally dropped after all this time. I don't know. Stick him now. Tell him to fuck off. Stick him in the under-23s where he isn't going to get any praise, isn't going to be seen, and will certainly miss out on the World Cup. And then we'll see who he comes screaming and running to. I mean, I said to you, didn't I, Brad, before, that we all move jobs. He's absolutely got no link to us at all. There's no reason he should be loyal, and I understand that 110%. But there's ways of going around things. The way Andy King moved on, the way Kasper Schmeichel moved on. You know, we've got Kanté, we've got Mahrez, we've now got Fofana, we've got Tielemans, all treating the club like we were a bit of bird book that picked up on the shoe as we were walking around town. The club deserves more, and I would love somebody like Susan Whelan. I know she's never going to come on this show, of course she's not, but I'm going to put a challenge out there, Susan. If you do ever get a chance to watch this, or anybody tells you about this, we'll see if you've got more balls than the men. Come on the channel and tell us exactly what is going on, because you're not. You're hiding behind those closed doors at the King Power. Something is going on, and I don't know what it is. I really don't. And Ant, you know, you have been praising Brendan, but he doesn't deserve it here because he needs to do. You know, so you're a bit under the weather. Tell you what, have the weekend off. Why don't you? You got Monday to Friday to sulk, Monday to Friday to get your head round things. Not on fucking match day.
Well,
are you still there, Brad? I am so sorry. This is just getting me wound up. It really is.
No, I can understand the frustrations. And I know we're here to do a press conference. Yeah, we're going to review the press conference. See, the problem is sometimes, and it's not really defence, but you can't drop somebody if you don't get a sense from them that their head's gone from, you know, what we're about to review, because I have obviously seen it all the way through with you, is basically Brendan was, you know, basically came out and said, if I get the feeling, or if anyone or something happens where myself or whatever decide they're not 100% committed to the course, and I won't play them. And I don't know if that's been twisted a little bit, and maybe as reliable as he is, Rob Tanner, maybe Rob Tanner's been given some information by somebody. He might have got it personally from Wesley Fofana, and this is bang on. But when a manager comes out and says that, I do agree with Ant, because I did at the point, and I thought, okay, fair enough. He's openly saying that he's going to drop players. Not, he didn't name Fofana, but and we'll get on to that. But he said he's willing to drop players if he feels they're not giving 100% to the club. And we've seen it before where managers go, no, he's happy here, he's not going there. And then lo and behold, the bench. And then by midweek next week, they're off to the club they were always going to anyway. I think the problem is you take words and you twist it, and you hear these words and you go, right, I'm going to chase that lead as a journalist should, chase the lead. Well, is there any truth? Maybe is Fofana? Well, yeah, I've heard he's contemplating Chelsea. Bang, here we are at this headline, some story.
Again, though, you would accept, and I would accept that. As I know I've worked in the press for 35 years, and I agree with you 100%. If it wasn't these guys that it is. Now, you know, just then Ant said it's the two most trusted stories. Rob Tanner and Rob Dorset are saying the opposite. I was very impressed with that piece that Rob Dorset did on Leicester, and I don't think this is necessarily the opposite. Other than the fact that Rob Tanner is saying Fofana asked, and Rob Dorset is saying Rodgers omits him. So that's the only difference. Welcome back off your holiday, Anthony, not that Ant, this Ant, welcome back off your holiday. You are well. And I was going to say go anywhere nice, but you know, we know you went to Iraq, you went somewhere horrible. Of course you didn't. Always that. James is in. Good evening, James. How are you? Hayden, as we said before, I think he's a bit like Mahrez, but with Fofana, definitely, mate, definitely. Aubameyang has gone to Chelsea now, so they will be a good team. Too many Robs, too many Robs spoil the press or whatever. But let's just look down this story. So Leicester City manager Brendan Rodgers is set to leave Wesley Fofana out of his matchday squad to face Southampton on Saturday, with the defender asking not to be involved. Rodgers said on Thursday he would be prepared to admit Fofana from his squad if the 20-year-old defender was impacted by Chelsea's continued interest in him. Chelsea have made 2 offers of the French defender, but both fell below Leicester's valuation. A third bid is not thought to be imminent, but Rodgers now seems set to drop Fofana from his squad for the Southampton match, while his future is in the air. The Athletic has briefly reported that Fofana is keen on the switch. Leicester seem determined to keep him for another year at least. He signed a 5-year contract. What's this keep him for another fucking year? He signed for 5 years. So yeah, I mean, I just say we've had him, we've got him signed to 5-year contract. He goes nowhere. Mahrez was the same. He went nowhere until we were ready to sell him. The only winner in all this is fucking Chelsea because it's weakening our team.
Yeah, welcome to the world of football, mate. That's exactly what happens. The big boys, the big rich spoilt brats go, Daddy, they've got a really cool toy and he won't let me have it. And then Daddy writes his checkbook and he keeps writing his checkbook until eventually the kid that always wanted this toy goes, well, that's ridiculous money. I want money. You can have my favourite toy. And that's exactly what transfer negotiation are. It's the rich clubs. It's like trading with your friends, wasn't it? It's like trading with your friends with Pokemon cards or something. If you were mates, you made a fair deal. He was like, I'll swap you this for that. And it was great. These big clubs want to just buy everything out of you. And it's like, it gets to a point where it gets tiring. And I do still respect the way Leicester do the business. And they did this with Mahrez. And Fofana has to be careful because, we did it with Mahrez. He had a contract with us. We told him the valuation. And we made no qualms about being transparent with him. Here's our valuation of you. We will not step in the way of you going to Manchester City. Dry your eyes. Don't worry. You can still get your big boy pants on and go move to Man City, but only if they pay this amount for you. And it wasn't so bad with Maguire. I think Maguire, for all the slating we give him being Manchester United slabhead now, I have to praise Maguire because he handled it pretty well.
Yeah,
he never came out and wanted to be benched. There was none of this animosity about him not playing. It was, you're playing, great.
He signed a new contract so that we actually got some money for him.
Yeah, and maybe that's what Wesley's done. But now, maybe because Chelsea aren't willing to meet our valuation of Fofana, that's what's caused the upset in the mind. He's going, well, I was told I could go if the valuation was met, but, I don't understand when players say, oh, you'll price me out of a move. Don't you think you're worth that? Don't you think you're worth the 85 million and 90 million? Don't you think you've earned the right to be, sold for that amount of money? Don't you think you've done that? Because I don't. How can you price someone out of a move? Have we turned around to Chelsea and said 400 million is yours? No, we've gone, I believe 85.
Yeah.
Which, let's face it, Fofana's a better defender than Maguire, and you should pay more for him. It's ridiculous. But we're here where we are, and we'll see come Saturday. I said to you, didn't I, before we started, wouldn't it be all weird and hilarious if team news was announced at 1, 2 o'clock and whenever it's announced and Fofana's playing?
I tell you what, if I was him, I'd be very. I think he's bottling it because I think he's worried about the reaction of the City fans. I'll tell you something. I'm certainly not for booing players at the start of a game before they've even kicked a ball for us. But when they go through the team, there's no way I would applaud or cheer his name.
Yeah, but the thing is, right, let's just take a hypothetical here, because we're talking hypotheticals that's going to be a Chelsea player in the next coming days. What if you go out there and Fofana's name gets read out and everybody just sits there cross-armed, doesn't say anything? We want to be Chelsea. You know, kind of, you're going to be stubborn and petulant. We're going to be stubborn and petulant. What happens if in 12 days' time, or however many days it is away from the 1st of September, what if come midnight on the 1st of September, he's still a Leicester player? Wouldn't it be really hypocritical of Leicester fans that refuse to chant his name or sing his name, or even worse, boo him? I sat there, awkward moment. We've now got September, October, November, December. I know the World Cup, but you've got at least 5 months of him still being a Leicester player and playing and maintaining your team. And then all of a sudden, making all these reports that he was throwing his toys out the pram, sound petulant if he starts playing week in, week out, being a star performer again. I think everybody's got to be a little bit careful about how they handle.
No, we can't let a player know. And you know me, I'm playing devil's advocate with you.
I know.
That. So as fans, we are not allowed to let players know how we feel about them.
You are, but there's a way to do it, that way is doing one of two things: either not acknowledging him, which kind of is bad, but booing him, which, let's be honest with you, is only. I don't think. No, I don't. I just don't like booing a player. No, I don't.
Even at the end of a game, I don't agree in booing a player because they've not gone out. 99.9% of the time, players do not go out to perform badly.
No.
So I don't believe in the booing. So to me, you don't get applauded.
No, there probably is a handful of doing that. I mean, it take a big majority of things to notice it, but you kind of bite your nose to spite.
But why should we applaud somebody that doesn't want to be there?
Because if he's been picked,
then he will have to slowly build up that trust with us again.
Well,
I mean, the players have got too much power. Players are saying to the fans, "I've got your shirt on now. You bow down before me and kiss my feet." No, I'm sorry, I'm not going to, because you don't want to be here.
It's a hard situation to put it in, because if he plays Saturday and some fans boo him, some fans don't applaud him, and the others just do what they normally do when the team sheet's read out, what message does that send to everybody that joins Leicester? That means we're gonna be there going, best player ever, we've got the best player, and then the second something happens, we're going to turn our backs on him. You're thinking future transfers when the owners feel that it's needed and will invest that money into it with projects they've got going on at the moment to develop the club. Is a player going to be like, oh, right, so if I start looking after me and my family and thinking of myself, I'm suddenly going to be the scum of the earth? Now, I don't want to join your club, mate. I don't want to join your club.
There are ways of going about it.
But we haven't seen Wesley. But the thing is, right, we're sitting here discussing taking Rob Tanner's word for it in the Athletic, as reliable as it is. Have we, like Mahrez, seen him go on social media going, "You Leicester"?
Remove the fact that he plays for Leicester City. What more do you need?
But he did that 4 weeks
at St Etienne.
Yeah, but he did that like 4 weeks ago, and everybody kind of laughed it off, going, "He's got a 5-year contract. He ain't going to go anywhere. He doesn't want to go anywhere."
Still sums him up. He couldn't wait to remove that. He's now got a thing that says on his Twitter, it says professional player hashtag, and well, basically in English it says it's hashtag for you. Now, come on, I'm sorry, when you take the fact professional footballer from Leicester out, then that's burning a lot of bridges for me.
Maybe it is, but we won't know until something's done about it. Or
why should I? When there's players there, different standards of players, but you've got your Albrightons, and you've got your Vardys, and you've got your Kieran Dewsbury Halls, and your James that want to play for the club. They should get my respect. They should get my applause, not a petulant Frenchman that doesn't want to be here.
Yeah, but like I literally said, if he gets picked on Saturday, that clearly shows that Brendan and Fofana don't have any issues. So why not cheer him if he's in the 11? That's clearly putting this to rest and going, yeah, you took something out of context and your source told you something and that's what gave you the report. Because as reliable as Rob Tanner is and Dorset can be, and I'm not saying they're not, all it takes is for them to delve deeper into what Brendan said in his press conference, which we're going to get onto, and someone twists it a little bit to make it sound like, oh, that must mean that Fofana or is as either asked, because like we're reading, Fofana was asked, or as we're seeing, Dorset is saying, is Rodgers is dropping him. And that's what I mean, where you take something out of context and use it to make another report. What happens, Chris, right? We're all sitting there going, F Fofana, F him. If he's getting dropped, that means you don't want to be here. F off to Chelsea, take the 70, 80 million or whatever Chelsea, negotiate with Chelsea, sort out a price in between what you want and what they're willing to spend, get him out of the club, sign him off. What if, and then this is saying, you know, we're going on the accordance that he's an arsehole, he's throwing his toys out the pram, he's taking everybody off Instagram. God, that's embarrassing that people read so much into it. But anyway, you know, we read all this, and then all of a sudden, your Leicester City side, Wesley Fofana's named in it. Well, that tells me that Brendan doesn't see him as having his head turned and not wanting to play. And, you're playing devil's advocate, I'm playing the other side. Are you going to sit there going, oh, Fofana chose to stay? Boo!
No,
Tanner told me you wanted Chelsea.
Like I just said, I don't boo any player. I don't.
No, but I shouldn't say you, but I meant like our fans going to sit there and go, I don't want Fofana playing. Rob Tanner said his head.
Sorry, no, if he stays, he earns our trust back. It's not just, this is the cherry on top of the cake. It's the rest of the cake that's built up to this. And we'll go through some comments in a moment. But yeah, I've seen it. I've seen. You know, you can see the sun and the mirror talking about the same incident and seeing it from two different sides, and on the same day, on the same morning edition. So yes, we do know how these things can be seen, and you've only got to get, you know, we're like with stats. You can take a stat and you can read it one way, and you can read it another. You know, we both get the same stat, so it does. But we are losing a player that against Arsenal, and I think you made this point, probably whilst at the start of the game was one of our better players. He was up trying to score a goal and then the same thing back and defending. If he hadn't got that yellow card, I think he would have had a better all-round game. And yet, we're going to drop him, our best defender at the moment, but we're going to stick Tielemans probably. He'll be the first name on the sheet. And he had a fucking awful game against Arsenal and was taken off. But, oh, no, it's Tielemans. Let's put him back on the pitch and get him playing. And although he's bloody awful at the moment.
No, but you've seen my stance on Tielemans. I did put it in the group and it got a lot better reaction than I was expecting. I was expecting a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Bad press.
No, when you kind of get a lot of stick for a comment or having an opinion, what you get a little backlash. That's it. Backlash. Yeah. And then a lot of people actually probably agreed with me. And the thing is, Tielemans is a whole different case and it's a whole different scenario. And I know people are going to say, oh, but he doesn't necessarily want to leave. He's come out many times to say he's happy. You can't just say you're going to drop him, but not for Fofana if that's the case. And the thing is, I would drop Tielemans. And I would drop Tielemans for the pure sense of the fact that whether his head's in the game or not, whether he's on form or not, and I know if he was on form, it'd be very hard to turn around and say, Bradley start the season with, I don't know, 2 assists and a goal or whatever. You can't drop him.
Yeah, he's not.
Yeah, he's not. So he's not in form. He has been dragging his heels for several months. Not just over the contracts we keep offering him, but now it's got to the point where we going, okay, if that's the case, we have no alternative but try and sell you. It's dragging its case. Okay, you could argue that's from the clubs that are kind of probably sat there going, actually, should we just leave it a week? Should we just leave it and then go back in for him when we can negotiate with just him and his agent? You don't know. But I would drop him purely, take form out of it. I would purely drop him because of the situation we are in. I would say, like, you know what? Go and sit with your agent. Go to Arsenal, go to Chelsea, go to Real Madrid, go and contact these and get yourself a new club. Because if you're not going to commit and give us a little bit of leeway to negotiate your sale next summer, go.
No, I
and
get it.
If he's still able to close the window, then again, like you said with the Fofana thing, he has to earn that respect and trust back that he's going to commit and give everything to Leicester.
Indeed. We will be going through comments in a minute, guys, so keep commenting, but I just want to sort of get to the right point to sort of look at all your comments. Like with Tielemans, as I say, for me, he's just out of form. Whatever the reason is, he's out of form, and you play Pratt over him, who actually wants to be here, a player who actually wants to be at Leicester, who's come out and said, look, I felt I wasn't getting the game time, felt I wasn't getting what I should do. Had a conversation with Brendan. It didn't sound like I wanted to. So, yes, I went out for a year. I've come back and I've actually sat down with him. We've cleared the air. So, yeah, I want to go out and prove myself, probably thinking that Tielemans might be moving on. But that is the difference between Pratt, who's a man, and Tielemans and Fofana were acting like little kids. But how much of this has been caused by another petulant person that plays is employed by our club, and that is Brendan Rodgers, who has no thought for the fact that he's getting 10 million a year. He's the 7th highest paid manager in the Premier League. He comes out and has slide digs at the owners every chance he gets. He came out and said, you know what? We've got to sell before we can buy. Well, fucking put a sign up outside the King Power, nearly said Filbert Street then. Put a sign up outside the King Power saying fire sale. A lot of this is down to that Irish idiot that's in charge saying, yeah, we can't buy anybody until we sell. So, yeah, come on and make us some offers and settle the whole squad just before I'm due to start.
I will save my argument against that statement until the press conference, because that's a point I feel Brendan cleared up and further stressed how our owners run a business. Me and you have backed it up on numerous occasions where people are saying we're in debt, this and that. And we've said no, they want to build the infrastructure, they want to spend the money there. Brendan Rodgers pretty much said that without saying that's what they're doing. At the end of the day, he sat down with the hierarchy after a summer away and they went, we can't do transfers. You're going to have to fund that yourself because we don't want to put the money into the club. We feel the players that you've got available to you have been successful, and we're not fearing that that's where we need to improve. We need to improve the infrastructure of the ground. We need to improve the infrastructure of the council plans that we're still dragging their fucking arse. You think a council that would really be loving the fact that their owners are putting money into it and improving the land and doing all they do for it would fucking put a stamp on it and accept it. But no, we're absolutely full of, I want to say,
on that ground at the moment, a disused factory and some concrete, and I don't get the councils. And it's not just Leicester Council. You want to come down to Paul Bournemouth and Christchurch Council, which is one big one. Yeah, absolutely couldn't make a decision to what underwear to put on in the morning.
I'll tell you exactly what it is as well, mate. It's such petty. You talk about petty. Forget the club. They're the council, the most petty things ever, because they probably looked at it and gone, oh no, we can't keep asking the government for more money for our council because we didn't come up with an idea to spend our summer money, and now the Leicester boys want to spend it. That's not fair. We wanted to use that space to build a crappy 3-inch swimming pool that'll be contaminated and knocked down within the year, and we're not allowed to spend that. Oh, we're not allowed to spend the taxpayers' money. That's not fair. They've come up with a bright idea because they've got a brain cell. Every council's full of fucking dickheads that come up with that. They just want to spend, mate. They want to spend the government's money. They don't want to allow someone else to make money and profit and
you want to live in a holiday resort, because I've seen this in Blackpool and I've seen this in Bournemouth here. Where else would you in a holiday resort get roadworks going on just as the holiday season is starting? In Blackpool, because if they don't use the money up by the end of that year, it goes. So they think, we've got all this money left. We've got to use it. Let's disrupt. There was 4 ways to get into Bournemouth. 3 of them had roadworks on one summer. Anyway, we are going off.
We're coming on the council show. But yeah, anyway.
I think it's the one thing we would probably agree on is the fact that councils have got their heads up their arses. Don't get me wrong, but we'll have a break. I need to just have a quick drink, and then we'll go through the comments.
In a world where cat videos and memes rule the feeds.
Watch us on YouTube. Listen on your favorite podcast platform, or ask your smart speaker to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Subscribe, like, follow, and join in now.
Indeed. Please do that if you are new and you haven't done already. Please do press that subscribe button. Right, let me just see where we got up to, and we'll start it up. I don't know if I did this. Apparently, Anthony was in pool, knocked on my door. Chris, but you was on a stream. Actually, I wasn't. I actually had my CCTV up on one of my laptops, so it was you, Anthony, and didn't come to the door. Rennie says, I swear if Chelsea miss out on Fofana and if Real Madrid 150 million bids, it means in January. LCFC believer, hello. He's 21 years old, for fuck's sake. What is he going to lose staying at Leicester for some season still? His valuation will only go up. Good point, Rennie. We sold Kante Drinkwater and Chilwell because we got the offers that, well, Kante, don't start me on that because he was the first rat to leave, but it was in his contract. He got in his contract and Chelsea met it. There's not a lot we can do. Welcome along to Luca. How the devil are you, sir? Welcome along. Ant says, I hope he never wears a Leicester top again. Oh, Ant. Anthony says he went to St Ives in Cornwall. Bloody lovely. Yeah, you struck lucky there, Brad. You come back before Anthony got there.
I know, right? I made sure I negotiated it, but it's good to see someone took my advice about St Ives. I hope you enjoyed it, Anthony.
He's on a commission. Why does Chelsea own clubs want our player? It's not just Chelsea. It's just everybody seems to want our players. And we will sell them if it is all done the right way. Scott says, the problem, I think, is the fact of the seriousness of Fofana injury last season. I get his age, etc. It's the risk assessment that clubs will look at the injury and come back to haunt him. A broken leg, well, how about, I don't know. And neither Clapperback, just to throw at him. I am not recommending violence, children. If you are watching this, and if you do feel that way, please do ring a counsellor. But I'm not. You look, just be. There you go. You can't say it now. James, 0% chance he plays Saturday. Can't see any fans getting behind him after this week. I agree totally. Hayden, I think Fofana brought it on himself, 120%. Fofana also likes Fabrizio tweets like linking him to Chelsea. Wow, I didn't know that. You're not stalking him, are you, Ant? Then Anthony, lads, I feel for Leicester. You seem to be getting rid of your best players but not replacing them. So where does that put Leicester, and would you finish top 10? We would replace them because I think if we got the 85 million, let's say, for Fofana, we would put that back into players, but it's whether we've got time to. There has to come a time when we say, no, it's too late now. James says, why not cheer him? Because he's been a child and not putting the club first. Exactly. We pay his wages. Rene, I don't know if he's laughing at you booing or booing himself there. I think it's the former rather than the latter. And I'll be calling him something rhyming with anchor. I hope you're not like this in your job, Ant, with what you do, because I'm saying nothing else. Scott, see, I get the Fofana fiasco, but I'd rather him stay. If he sulks, so be it. He will do one or two things. Carry on sulking, and I hope Roger sticks to his words in dropping him if this happens. Or carry on is the other one. James would love to see Roger stick him with the kids, since that's where he wants to act. Can't agree with you more, James. Can't agree with you more. Scott, or carry on being the professional. When was he last a professional? Because he certainly wasn't when he left St Etienne. None of this Fofana saga does not surprise me. Rodgers is hardly the model of professional with it. Yeah, again, Terry, you've got a good point, but we'll come on to his press conference and see what Brad thinks about that. Rennie, I don't get why Chelsea want our players, because they're the best, I guess, you know. Chris is on my page with Brendan Rodgers. I tell you what, the page is not fully turned yet, but I've wetted my finger and I'm just picking up the corner, getting ready to possibly turn it to be your page. Scott, I agree with you both about Tielemans. Thinking he needs to get benched at least and given the chance to either fight his way back into the starting 11 with an extension or keep him out of the squad. James, keeping the lights. Thank you, James. Grandon, good evening, sir. How are you? If you're new to the channel, welcome along. Don't think I've seen you before. If I have, I apologise. If you haven't, please give a sub to the channel. I love it when Brad acts out like a child. Well, each to their own, Rennie, each to their own. Apparently, Newcastle have been given permission to build a new stadium, so must just be Leicestershire Council that are completely useless. Yes, I don't think Brad or me would argue with you on that one, Scott. And too many ants on the group chat maybe need nicknames. The one I have for Ants Leicester fan channel, mate, I couldn't say it before 9 o'clock. Right, let us then now we'll move on. All I will say is, guys, 9, and I'm sure Fofana will be coming up in this next segment, but at 9 o'clock this evening, which is usually obviously it's usually the debate show. At 9 o'clock this evening, we are doing our second question and answer show because Dave is still away. It may be that we stick with that format rather than the banter. We're going to see how it's only the second one this evening. We'll see how that goes. So at 9 o'clock, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people asking us about where's Fofana. So catch us back here at 9 o'clock. Static, good evening, sir. How the devil are you? Welcome along. Nice to see you. I'm glad to see you've not moved. That's because he's static. Yeah, okay. Let's. I'm sorry. Come on. It's the first one. Shows I'm getting over my tension. Let me try and just quickly share the screen and then we can have a look at what Mr. Rodgers had to say. So here we go. I will try and get his full screen. And are you ready, sir?
Yeah, I'm ready to break this down.
Well, I will apologise here because I always and Jack from Matchday Vlogs, the Southampton channel, was saying, why can't we have at least just one microphone that we can pass around the journalists so we can hear what the question is? Because watching any press conference, it's like, you know, that question, like, this is the answer, what is the question? You know.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
I can't hear it. But anyway, here we jolly well go, and let us have a look at what Mr. Rodgers had to say. A bit of free publicity there.
This is a difficult period, isn't it, in terms of balancing, preparing for games, keeping focus, and having to deal with all of this on top of it.
Yeah, it is. There's no denying it. Any manager will tell you it's always a tricky period. You know, your season starting, you're trying to get focused, and you spend your summer creating this really powerful collective unit that's hopefully going to see you through the season, and then obviously throughout this period, then of course there's lots of speculation, and you have to remember these are very, very young guys, some of them, and for some of the times it's the first time they've experienced these situations. So there is always and can be disruption there, but the idea is really to try and the windows shuts at all ends, and everyone is really there. But whilst we're in this period, there's always challenges.
With 2 weeks to go, then, are you confident that Wesley Fofana will still be a Leicester City player?
You know, so far ahead, I think the idea is that he's
Oh,
still
mate,
very much
I'm
Leicester
struggling
City
to
player.
hear this because it keeps freezing my end. I don't know if it's skipping, but I didn't hear any of that for the last like 30, 40 seconds.
But well, you just asked would let me just see if I can go back again. She was asking about Wayne Fofana, about Wayne.
No, keep you
about Wes Fofana. I think. Listen to it. Let me just see if you can hear it this time.
I don't think so. Is that he's still very much a Leicester City player? You know,
Was that the pause?
Yeah, the slight pause where he this was the concerning part of the press conference, because that kind of suggested that there was more truth behind certain stories. And again, this is where I think it's been manipulated from what he says, because I do apologise, mate. I probably should have put it on my laptop and watched it kind of side by side with subtitles on or something, because it keeps freezing when you play it at certain points. It's quite difficult to remember what he was saying, but it's that little pause.
You just froze then as well.
Yeah,
mate.
I don't know if it's because we're trying to play a video side by side or something. I don't know, but yeah, it's not too discerning when I suppose in a good way, it shows the manager's not scripted in what he's going to say. He's thinking about how to word things, but yeah, I was like, oh, but we can continue because there's not really much he said here to discuss so far.
Freezing a lot, Brad. I don't know if it's just me.
No, see, you've just frozen now completely. And I think it's because we're trying to video. Yeah, I don't know.
Do you want to jump on?
You've completely froze, Chris.
Right. I don't think it's my end because my banner's still going across the bottom. That's not freezing.
Well, you said I keep freezing as well, so it is both ends, isn't it? I don't know if it's just because we're trying to put it's trying to load a video next to it. I don't know. We didn't seem to have this issue with the first press conference, but
no.
something's acting up.
See how we get on. If necessary, if you need to jump off and jump. Let's go on and just see how we get on for now.
Like I've said it a number of times here, he's not for sale, and the club have made that clear that that's the case. So unless anything changes on that, I would expect him to be here.
Any other bids for any other players?
No.
And in terms of the players you may want to move on, the fringe players who may not be involved, is there any progression there?
Nothing on that as far as I'm aware.
So
nothing on players going out and nothing on players coming in. It's all a bit boring. Well, thank God we got Fofana to talk about, eh?
Yeah, true. And again, he does touch on the reasons when he's asked more specifically about certain individuals later on in the press conference. But something we already knew. It's not a big secret. Our squad's full. We don't need to sell. People are misinterpreting, this transfer thing as the club's completely potless. We're one of the richest clubs in the division. So, yeah, I'm not surprised by his very relaxed answer. And it's kind of, again, proving it. Because if we were in such dire straits and needed to sell, we'd have bids in for Fofana, we'd have bids in for Tielemans, we'd have bids in for Maddison, and I know we've had bids, but we would be accepting these bids at a low ball offer just to get them off the wage bill. So I think clubs have maybe learned that, and that's why it's only one player that's being focused on.
Well, let's move on again and see what he says.
That, at the moment, you're not any closer to bringing any players in either.
Not at the moment, no. And as I said, the work has been with the players that's here, and we'll continue with them.
Would you describe this as a frustrating time for you as a manager?
Listen, it's one where I've said before, it's no different. I think every manager would want to have strengthened their squad, and I'm absolutely no different to all the other managers. So, but if you're unable to do it, then my experience tells me that you have to concentrate on what you have, and I've got some fantastic players here. You know, a wonderful group of players, and who want to get better, and if we can keep those fit and get some luck with no injuries, then like I say, I still think we can have a really good season. But of course, every manager wants to improve the squad, but we're not in that situation in this moment.
You talk about luck with injuries. How are things looking for this weekend in terms of your teams?
Well, Harvey Barnes is great news for us. He's been back in training, so that's really good for us. He's looked excellent. He's looked fit, and he had a really good pre-season. So it was a blow to lose him for the opening few games, but he should be available.
And how key is that? Because I know you were looking very much on sort of working with those Whitemen and the system you were looking at. So that could be key for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's always important for how we play, the width in the game. We've always tried to be flexible in terms of how we play and have that adaptability. But of course, when you're limited on the certain profile of winger, then of course when he was out, we had to adjust. So and the players, listen, they're very adaptable and they can adjust really well.
What's been your message this week after that disappointing result against Arsenal coming into this game? How?
I'll tell you what, that whoever's on first gets a hell of a long time, a hell of a lot of questions. Your turn to go first this time and have 20 questions. Barnes back, that's going to, I think if he's fit, he'll start, won't he?
Yeah, definitely. Again, he kind of hints at that in later on in the press conference. But yeah, it's a weird one. But maybe people will learn a bit more understanding as to not only why we've not been able to make transfers, but why certain players didn't materialise at all within the club. Because we remember early doors, you talked about Dennis Pratt this season, and he'll get mentioned in this press conference. Samara, at the start of the transfer window, he was out, he was going Monaco, Pratt was going to get sold, and maybe that was the idea, to make these funds available to make these signings. We've learned over time that that's the reason we haven't, but there was always a plan, and you say Fofana's signed a 5-year deal, things change. Well, not to spoil it, but what Brendan does end up saying maybe tell you why maybe Leicester's plans are changing, maybe why Dennis Pratt is now happy to play for Leicester and not seeking a move away. So it's good to have Barnes back and no fresh injury worries.
With Barnes back, do we revert to 4 at the back? Because 3 at the back is killing us.
We've got to. We've just got to do it. There's no way you can subsidise playing 5 at the back and having them coming together and getting in each other's way. We've always played a lot better with a back 4, whether that's 4-4-2, whether that's 4-3-1-2. I'm sure we'll see. Come
you
Sunday.
Know that. I know that. I think the vast majority of the fans know that. Brendan, he's still got to learn it though.
Yeah, he might play Barnes at left back. We never know.
Well, yeah. Well, Amati, talking about playing people out of position. No, Fofana, it's got to be Soyuncu and Evans. When I picked my team on Thursday, it was before all this came out. So I'd actually got Evans and Fofana as my 2 centre-backs. But he's got to bring Soyuncu back in that left centre-back position, hasn't he?
I mean, you think that, but there's obviously a reason Amati's been getting picked over Soyuncu, and you never know with Brendan. He plays all Brighton on the left, on the right, and right back, and then he'll put Ndidi and Chowdhury at centre back. So God knows, we might start the game with Vestergaard in goal and Barnes and Vardy in defence. Never tell sometimes.
Don't even joke about it. Anthony says, why don't we go and get these cheap players from PSG? We haven't got the space. It's as simple as that. We've got about 26 or 27, I'm not sure the exact number at the moment, players that are eligible to play in the Premier League. We can only sign 25 of them. Why go out and sign more players? Because if they come in and we register them, then we've got to leave other players off that we're still paying wages for, like Mendy, but we can't actually play. We're going to end up like Barcelona. Hopefully not in their financial trouble, though. But let's just see if another journalist gets a chance to actually ask a question or not. Let's have a look.
Crucial is this game, and what has your message been to your players?
Well, it's very important. It was the same as after the last game. I said afterwards it was a mixed bag with some good moments in the game. Where Arsenal could have went in front in the opening 5 minutes, but didn't. And then I think the timing of the goals really hurt us last week. There's no doubt Arsenal deserved to win, but we could have made it a much closer scoreline and made them a little bit more nervous than we did. So we have to come away, learn from that, got to manage the game better, look to not make mistakes in the games, knowing that we can score goals. Okay.
Hi, Brendan.
Hi.
Just picking up on that point James Justin said about game management and talked about perhaps being a bit more cute, I suppose, having a bit more devilment in games. Is that something that can be worked on, has been worked on?
Well, there's that, and there's also managing the ball. You know, if you know, the last goal came from us giving away the football, and it's something that with the team.
Just a quick question there, Brad. How do you manage your balls?
I keep them nice and together and well ventilated when needs be, mate. And obviously watch on a regular basis. I keep the ball. I've got great ball retention down there, mate.
I think that comment has got to be placed in the bloody obvious answers box.
Yeah. Definitely.
You don't manage the ball. Yeah. Okay, Brendan. Oh, you know.
That's up there with Michael Owen, isn't it? Normally the team that scores more goals wins the game. Well, no shit, Owen. That's how football works, mate. Where you been?
It is up there with one of them, isn't it? You know, but
yeah.
Anyway, we can't see his hands, so maybe Brendan was managing his balls at the time. Let's go.
Well, I hope not when a woman's talking to him. That'd be a case.
It would.
It's a constant message. You know, we don't always have to put the ball at risk. You don't always have to finish the action on the first attack. You know, so that's just something that when I talk experience of players, that conserving the ball in the right moments is about having game experience. So that's something that we can definitely do better, and that's part of managing the game.
James Maddison obviously likes to put the ball at risk, and he's having a brilliant time of it at the moment. It looks like he's brimming with confidence. And again, just touching on what James said to us, he actually thinks he's got another level there, which is quite scary.
Yeah, he's continued on really from where he was at the end of last season. Over the course of pre-season, he looks strong, looks dynamic, and he's created a goal and scored a goal already this season. So now he's a wonderful player, and like I said, he plays the game with the personality and the charisma that you want. You know, it doesn't matter what stadium he goes into. He goes and he can play at the very highest level, and thankfully his game's at that level.
Newcastle, can we buy him now and pay for him later?
Well, Newcastle were just very disrespectful in the way they went about it. I understand that they're trying to be a bit smart in it, but there's ways to do it, and that's not one of them. I think maybe they looked at the old Dele Alli situation with Everton. That's hilarious. You know my disdain for Dele Alli and the fact that he's like Jesse Lingard. He's more into his Instagram coloured shirt posts than whoever was his career. But anyway, we're not here to discuss that. We'll discuss that. And model professional. You know, you're talking about throwing your toys out. Well, here's the complete opposite. 2 bids from Newcastle, respectful or not. We knocked them back, and James Maddison's happy as Larry, getting on with it. He's playing football. He's getting assists. He's grooving his way into the England squad. And I think this would maybe set the tone for anybody who potentially wants to use Leicester as a stepping stone, that you can get what you want from Leicester City. And it would be great if Mr. Yes Man had had the FA's hand removed from up his arse, and Maddison had a really good mini season here, and then gets selected by Gareth because he's got no alternative to pick him. And then it shows these players that they can get their international recognition, they can get silverware, because we proved we can win silverware, we proved we can have good European seasons. So, you know, other end of the scale, Fofana, petulant, wants out, doesn't want to play football anymore until he's at his right colour club in blue. Maddison.
I must admit, there's a Newcastle channel, John Sinclair, lovely guy to bits. We mod on on each other's channels, and when we appear on each other's channels. And he put a post out today saying, "Are we getting ripped off by a selling club?" And I messaged him back going, "Seriously, when you've just put a buy now, pay later offer in for Maddison?" I thought, yeah, come on. Mirror, look at it yourself. But anyway, let's move on and see where our Brendan goes now.
Personality do you want to see from the team this weekend back in front of you? Fans, Southampton, the opponents, what do you want to see?
Yeah, what I want to see is back playing with that intensity and that aggression and that pressure that has defined us. That's something that when we've been very, very good, that's our game. So we'll be judged this year on that, on our intensity and how we play and the aggression. And if we can play to that level, then we've shown that we can get good results consistently.
Just finally, from you said ahead of Arsenal, they've gone up a bit of a level this season. What do you make of Southampton and the challenge that they offer?
Yeah, it's always a difficult game against Southampton. We had a good scoreline at the end of last season, but again, they made some new signings and freshness in the squad. Obviously, they showed their spirit last week when they came back from being behind at home. So no, we'll expect a tough game, but the onus is on us. We played 60 odd minutes of our last home game to a good level, and then end up giving away the points. So 2 weeks further on, we want to show that improvement. We want to play with the same quality and intensity, but manage the game and hopefully take 3 points. Thank you.
Well, the one word I always think of when I talk about Southampton, much to Jack's annoyance last night, is
9.
Indeed, 9. We're not going to get 9 this weekend. I've gone for 2-1. Craig's gone for 3-1. It's going to be a lot tighter, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, that was that was the pinnacle of perfection of what a manager wants when they initiate how you play football, where you free flowing, you're on the front foot, you're in the face, that game was a 1 in a million because of how long it's been since Manchester United did that to, I believe, Ipswich Town all them years ago, you know. But not only that, but that is that one-off moment where everything they work on, everything Brendan talks about, how we can't misplace passes, how we've got to be right, we've got to make the right choice, we don't have to press it 40 yards up the pitch in 3 seconds, and everything falls into place. That is a manager's wet dream. So everything you tell them to do on the Friday, they go out and do on the Saturday or Monday night or whatever, and that's what happened. And it is going to be a closer game. We've seen since then that there have been closer games against Southampton. We've even suffered. We actually lost to them at the King Power in that same season. So we've seen that. And it will be a closer game, but I'd still feel, Fofana or not, I don't see why we can't go out there and beat Southampton.
No, I don't either. Right, let's.
I'm just going to apologise, Chris, if you, because I know it's not something you much like, but I have to keep taking myself off camera because I cannot hear the questions that are being asked. So I'm leaning into
it's absolutely fine. I'm on my laptop and I am really struggling as well. So no, I understand totally.
Hashtag invest in the mic, Leicester. Hashtag invest in the mic.
That's why I didn't say anything, because I knew why you were doing it. But
let
us go on.
Thank you.
Hey, Brendan.
Hi, Jason.
I have to be honest again, you were asked about conceding so quickly after scoring and responded with this, and I quote, "It's lack of experience from a number of players in our team that aren't used to the level." Can you just clarify what you mean by that? Because, looking at the team that you named, it's a very experienced team, 9 full internationals, winners' medals in the FA Cup and Premier League in this. What did you actually mean by are at this level?
Yeah, I meant that we've got numbers of players. So if you look at, you can call James Justin, for example, a full international player, but it's probably only his second season. You look at Kieran Dewsbury Hall, the level. You can talk about James Maddison. So all these players, they're not overly experienced. Yeah, you can look at Johnny Evans and say he's very experienced. But we're talking about experience of the game, managing games. That's what I was referring to.
In that same interview on Saturday, I think you also talked about the need to keep the ball better, and you just mentioned it there. Have players not learned from this? Because if you remember the Spurs defeat last season, scoring 2 goals pretty late on, you described it as naive after that game. And also, they're not learning from the mistake of the first goal of the weekend as well. Why does this seem to be happening on a regular, not on a regular basis, on occasions?
Yeah, it can happen in football. I think it's, especially after you score, if you look at it, it's the most vulnerable time in a game. We've worked it the other way. A number of goals last season, if you think back to when we conceded away at Leeds, we went up the other end and scored. So sometimes as a team, you're at your most vulnerable when you've scored. It's obviously, it's difficult when you're the team that has just scored and got yourself back into the game. It's and sometimes it's mistakes, which is a part of the game also. When we got to 2-1, in good shape, we were comfortable, and unfortunately we conceded the third goal, which broke the sort of momentum a little bit. The players fought back really well, got back into it for 3-2, and then it set you up really well. And it was a period of the game that we'd highlighted beforehand. At that final half hour, we can win the game. We've got a great opportunity to get a result, but we then give the ball away, and that's obviously at the highest level that you can get punished.
Now, this gets me here. I mean, I don't want to go on too much about the Arsenal game because we've covered that in many other shows. Inexperience. This is a team that has got to Europe twice. This is a team that has won the FA Cup and Community Shield. It's not exactly an inexperienced side.
No, it's not, but he's also right. It is still an inexperienced side. And I would probably just about put Maddison into the list of when he mentioned Evans. But it's, again, it can be down to interpretation. But realistically, yes, James Justin has been here for a few seasons, but he's had injuries. Yes, Kieran Dewsbury Hall is looking at his first full season. You would put that in the list. Amati hasn't really got the game time, but I've taken him out of the list. We've got Danny Ward, our new number 1, has never played a Premier League game, I believe, until we kicked off against Brentford.
I think he played Watford last season. That was the only one.
Oh, okay. So he's 2. He's had 3 Premier League games.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. I know we're a bit of loggerheads with him, but Fofana is a 21-year-old. And I think, Daka is 20-odd years old. Nacho's not that old. And Harvey Barnes. And again, I like the fact that he said, yes, you could look at James Justin constantly getting the England squad and say, oh, he's professional. Yes, he's professional and he's an international professional. But these players are still in the most critical point of their careers. And I would say that's what would you say that's about 65% of our squad is under 25? And
it's a young squad, yes.
Yeah. So not only do we have that, they're coming into their prime years, they're still developing, and they're still, I wouldn't say misinterpreting, but they're still, like he said there, sometimes these players are not thinking of that experience level where, people moan about Johnny Evans being too slow and not doing it, but he played passes into spaces that nobody was picking up, not even the opposition. He was calming things. He was you know, because I noticed a lot, and we've noticed it over a few months, and it's because it's happened a bit more regularly than we'd like to see that we probably pick up on it. But there was some sporadic passing, and I think that's caught in between you developing and understanding as a footballer to sometimes the way you play, you live and die by the sword. Any team has a set way of playing, and they live and die by it. They'll, you know, we've seen it. We discussed it time and time out. When we get it right, we win 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, 4-2s, whatever. When we get it wrong and some teams nick a goal and a squirm and attack out of nothing, we have a bad result. And unfortunately, that's part and parcel with football. Yes, some teams have far better qualities, but I would look at it and go, you take the fact that we've got 60% of our squad is under 25 for starters, and then you add into the occasion that's probably a few more percent on that have only been at the club a year or something. We talk about it all the time. They need a year to settle in. They need to be given a chance. And then the third year is where you see the best of the player. We talk about it a lot as a perspective. You bring someone in, you give, you know, they settle in, they have a year in the squad, and then boom, third season's where they're at the standards you're playing. A lot of that 65% haven't had that. So I do agree with Brendan in it's easy to sit there and go, here's Premier League, here's your chart. Look how many appearances they've had in the Premier League.
Minus the this then. Going on the average age, out of the 20 clubs, where do you think we stand on average age?
I would probably say, given the fact that we still have Evans and Vardy there, I'll probably say we're about, in terms, how are you working this table? Are you saying top has the highest age and lowest has the bottom is that, or you know what I mean?
The top has the youngest age.
Okay.
And the bottom has the oldest age.
I would probably say we're about top 6.
13th.
Well, that's actually quite surprising. That's actually quite surprising.
So I'm just naming you some of the clubs that have younger squads than us. Manchester City. Younger squad on average age.
Well,
Arsenal have got the youngest of anybody. Their average age is 23.9. Ours is 26.5. I'm splitting hairs. I know. And again, I'm playing devil's advocate against Brendan here. So, you know, Arsenal don't have that problem. You could say Man United do, in fairness. Let's be honest.
Well, Chris,
those are older than us. Brighton, Chelsea, Fulham, Liverpool, Spurs, Newcastle, and West Ham have got the oldest average age in the division. So,
but I would then just look at that again and again to flip it and to again go for it. How again? Arsenal have some very good, experienced players. I mean, Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko, to name 2, have been playing in the Premier League for years. Since they joined Man City, and came through their youth or whatever. They have been playing for very regular football of a high standard. So when you pay for that experience to come in, you expect it a bit quicker. And also, I would look, maybe not at Arsenal, because, you know, my opinions on Arsenal have changed. They finally listened to me on that show about bringing in the youth and building around it. But the majority of the other teams, their squad might average age be lower than Leicester's, but I bet their starting lineup isn't. I bet you their starting lineup wasn't.
Actually, okay, let me have a look at this then, because I had actually just come out of it, but you do raise a good point that I have just seen, and I now can't find. Here we go. Go into detail. What was it you just said to me then?
They're starting 11. What's their main 11 that they put out week in, week out?
Starting 11. Average age starting 11. Arsenal 24.1. Leicester 26.8.
That's still not much difference if you're including the fact that that's got Vardy, Maddison.
I can say we are talking. You know, percentage points there. You know, I'm like I always say, devil's advocate. That's me. But let's just see what else Mr. Rogers has to say.
makes we really, really good players. So so it's something that you always want to learn, and you can learn, but sometimes it's also the game, especially after you've scored a goal. So so the idea is to show that we have learned in our next game, and like I said, just manage the situation better.
Of the 4 permanent signings you've made last summer, only Patson Daka has featured so far. You mentioned Buba Samare in past press conferences. We had a situation with Brian Bertrand's injury as well, and Yannick Vestergaard isn't playing. Do you believe Leicester's permanent transfer dealings last summer were a success?
Well, I think that what we've looked at, but the players that came in, Yannick was coming in as a cover player for us. That's the reality. We obviously lost Wesley, and Yannick was very clear on his role in terms of we still had Johnny Evans and with Cags in front of him, Daniel Amartey. So he was coming in as a fourth choice centre half to come in and support. Ryan was coming in as an experienced player to take the role of Christian Fuchs. And Christian was a cover player for us. Unfortunately for Ryan, he hasn't been able to stay fit, so he's been unable to play so much. Buba Samare, again, was a player that came into the squad, and I said it clearly here that he was going to be that hybrid between Wilf and Yuri, meaning that if either one of those maybe wasn't playing, that he would have the opportunity to come in and play. Those guys were still the starters. So, and then obviously, like you say, Patson has had more game time. So I think it's a fair question, but I think it's also a fair answer to say the players that came in were the players to come in and cover, and not necessarily starting players for us.
Honesty.
Yeah, very honest.
And I've lost my connection to my camera now, so let me just.
I mean, just while Chris is sorting out his camera, if you guys can hear me, I thought that was quite honest of Brendan, because it's easy to look at Vestergaard for when he played and the fact that, you know, Bertrand didn't play practically, that they were deemed as failures. But Brendan clearly told these players when they signed exactly what they were being signed for and exactly who was their competition, if you will. I wouldn't say priority, because that's picking favourites, isn't it? But for me, it was nice to see honesty from Brendan, a little bit of front. Maybe he found his manhood in his rucksack on his way to work. Who knows? But I did feel that hearing that these players were not sold a false dream. It wasn't like they were told they're going to come in and rip it up and they're going to get in the first team and that's why we got them. You know, Bertrand was free. He's been very unfortunate with injury.
Can you still hear me, Brad?
Sorry. I can still hear you, mate. That's totally
what
fine.
I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to go out and come in. So what I'm going to do for the time being is I'll play the conference.
Yeah.
And then I'll come out and try and get in, and then you're not having to talk about anything that you've not seen yet. So just I'll play that, and then I'll go out and come back in again.
Yeah, no worries, mate.
You said it's a fair question. I mean, I ask it because of the lack of business system or the inability to move certain players on. Has the inability to move some of those players maybe from last summer played a big part in not bringing everyone else in this summer?
Not just that. I think it's from before. I think it's not just.
Hi, everybody. I'm awkwardly sat here now waiting for Chris to sort it out. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if Chris is having a few technical issues. But what you kind of got there is probably answer to a few questions that we've been waiting for a while. We saw Monaco were potentially going into Samore. Maybe with the Tielemans situation where it is, that's why he's now the interest is cooled down in him leaving, and he's. Brendan will go on to say if we're not able to fix this, so I will just fill in the gap for those of you that haven't, but he will go on to say that he's being very professional, he's getting his head down, he's training, and he's trying to get back into the game. And I think it's nice the fact that Brendan hasn't done what most managers would do and just say it didn't work out for him here, We clearly came with the intention that we're going to buy these players for cover, and they're going to have to fight and earn their place. We've got a very cramped squad of talented players, and that's essentially what they're doing here.
Issues around that, but still we go into the summer with the idea.
He's paused it, but he's not back in, folks.
I'm here.
Here he comes to wreck the day. I mean, save the day.
Never work with technology or kids. That's what I say. I do apologise. I had to come out the whole thing, which meant I lost all my connections. So
absolutely.
Thank you for being Leicester till I die there. Well, let's. I'll take it back a little bit, and we'll play. We'll try again. He says, famous last words, of course. Hang on. Somebody up there doesn't like me today.
Told before saying those things, or maybe told afterwards. So when was it? Because either way, communication from the hierarchy down, maybe not the best.
No, the communication here has always been very open and to myself and the board. I think when I spoke towards the February, March time of last year, it was clearly what we wanted to do was improve the squad. Towards the end of the season, there was clearly going to be issues around that, but still we go into the summer with the idea to improve. But obviously, whenever I come back for the beginning of pre-season, then it's pretty clear then that it's going to be a challenge for us. So in terms of the communication, it's open, but certainly back then I didn't envisage that we'd be in the position that we're in. So, but we're in it now, and as you know, the game and is changing all the time. So, as I said before, whenever the club say to me, and when I come back in the summer, this is where we're at. Because over the course of the summer, I was still speaking with players that we wanted to sign. Our recruitment team was, they had done some great work over these last number of months. We were very clear on the positions that we wanted to improve. And so all of that was still all going forward. And like I said, I spent my summer holidays speaking to a number of players to convince them to come. And then, of course, when we come back, the reality of the situation is there, and we're unable to follow through with it.
I mean, honesty again. Do you think? I mean, I'm going to play, and I know I've blamed Brendan an awful lot, but maybe was he sort of kept in form of what was happening soon enough?
I mean, it certainly gives an impression that and I quite admire Jason Bourne for asking the question that seemingly maybe things between the hierarchy and himself aren't always there's a miscommunication, because I don't think our owners would ever do anything sneakily to spread. I think the idea was like anybody does in that situation, when you want to improve anything, whether it's a business, a football club, whatever it is, you go away as a manager on your time off and you think, right, how can I improve it? And his job isn't to expand the stadium. His job isn't to relay the car park and make everything and all these ideas we've heard and whatnot that they do. His job is to go, how can I improve this squad to get the best out of it? I want, and I'm just going to name it because I'm fairly certain it was on the topic. I want a winger, so I'm going to go after Lukeman very successfully. I need potentially another midfielder because I don't think Pratt wants to stay, so I'm going to look in the midfield. He looked at every angle, and basically, like you do at the end of the year, and it happens, unfortunately, no matter how good your relationship is, you might go back to your job at the start and you go, right, where are we at from where we were in March and April? I'm going to be honest with you, Brendan. This is how we're going to. This is our plan with the club going forward. This is how we want to improve the club, and unfortunately, that means that makes your job a little bit harder because we're restricting what we're going to allow you, which is nothing apparently, to spend, because we see this as a more important in terms of the club going forward. Again, talking about making your own money sort of thing, that's your job. If you wish to still improve it, unfortunately, given our plans and what we're hoping to execute, over the next coming months in terms of everything we've talked about. You know, we've talked about the infrastructure of the ground, the shopping malls and all that. We're going to do that. We're not going to risk capital and go and, you know, and potentially more losses by giving you the 200 million or whatever it is to spend and redo that. You're going to have to do that. You know, you're going to have to do that solo, mate. If you want to do that, that's fine. You make the funds available. You've got our permission to go and do it. But unfortunately, as a business, we're not going to invest into that as we don't see it. It's not like we've been finishing 14th, 15th and 16th and we desperately need 7, 8, 9, 15, 275 if you're Nottingham Forest players in. Yeah. We understand that Leicester have finished 5th, 8th, brought in silverware, sturdy, well ingrained within the Premiership, barring a disaster. And if a disaster does start, I'm sure they will change their plan and go, okay, scrap that. That money we were saving up and profiting from and gaining from our other company, our company and our main structure, we're going to give you to sort it out in January so we stay a Premier League club. I'm sure that will come to it. Hopefully,
turning it around another way then, what, you know, it's not out the realms of possibility that we're actually doing it right and 19 other clubs are doing it wrong. Because, you know, the money that is being spent, I mean, you know, £1 million all those years ago, that first £1 million player, we thought, my God, £1 million for one player. We could only dream of that. And now you're looking at £1 billion for one player. How stupid has the whole thing become? And clubs feel like they've got to buy, they must buy. You know, Man City, they've gone out and bought Haaland, but they've had to sell Jesus. You know, they maybe are having to balance the books a little bit. You know, it is ridiculous in a way about how much money is spent in this industry.
Yeah, and again, I wrote a post on our last format about this question where it was asked. I will put this, and I know you've done it before yourself, Chris, but I will say this again. Fulham again. QPR. There's other clubs. I think Portsmouth for one. Leeds United. They did exactly what our clubs, you know, and our owners have looked at these examples and gone, if we do that now, where is this club going to be? Because right now we've got a lot of assets that whilst we're a Premier League club, we don't have awkward contract situations. We don't have masses of debt. We don't have to sell to clear debts if it all goes wrong. We could drop, you know, and touch wood, whatever. It don't happen, but we could drop in the Championship. And I'm pretty sure the way our owner runs his business, that's the club and the King Power. And if it was, you know, let's say this plan from the council doesn't get approved and it's not done in time, and then we were to go to Championship, we would be more than financially sound. Yes, we'd take a hit, obviously, every club does, but we'd still be in a position to go, oh, we don't need to sell these players. We can still afford their wages. We can still do that. Obviously, there'd be some players, obviously, but you look at where they are now. Leagues 1 and 2, these clubs have been to, the Sunderlands, the Boltons, the Leeds, and all that. And maybe you're right. Maybe Leicester are taking the approach. Look at Arsenal again. I hate comparing it to Arsenal, but I feel like I was a messiah for Arsenal Football Club. If you remember the show, you know what I'm on about, where I said they've got to invest in the youth and do that. And they've got rid of the 300k a week players. They've got rid of these multi-million-pound talent spending that, and they've invested in it. And they've been patient. They've not made signings, and the fans. I'm not talking certain fans that we know of Arsenal Club, but proper fans of Arsenal Football Club have, yes, rightly got frustrated that they don't seem to be improving the core and they keep selling these big players. But now look at them. I know it's only 2 games in, but they already look and feel like a better unit of squad. And now their fans are going, the proper fans are going, hey, up a minute, supporting Arsenal feels like a bit of a, we're in for a good season one way or another. And that's where Leicester fans maybe need to try and look at what could come ahead.
The reality check. I mean, I said to you, I believe, as much as anybody else, that there's 2 examples out there that we shouldn't be following. First one, and I mentioned them earlier, is Barcelona.
Yeah.
They are having to sell assets to be able to afford to bring these players in. And then when they bring the players in, they can't register them to play. So they are paying these players however many millions a year or whatever they are on, and they're not even kicking the ball. Now that's not going to be good for the club.
No.
And bit by bit, it's like, you know, it's like us building all this complex, and then, well, we've got to sell off the fan shop to a retail company to run. You know, it's they're almost selling the crown jewels. Or we do what Leeds do, and that is like, oh yeah, we got into Europe for 2 years running. Well, we should get in next year, so let's go out and spend that money as if we've already got it. And look where Leeds went. They went to having to sell all their players. You know, we went, they came down with us that season when we, you know, with the Lillian Dallas goal, and we beat them 4-2 or whatever it was. You know, there was I do not want to go that way. Do you know what I mean? And that's a scary thing that we could do if we're not careful. But let me just play this a little bit more, because it is going on a little bit now, and I'm sure you've got things to do and places to go. But let's try and just get
back here at 9 o'clock, mate.
True.
Came back because if you were talking about wanting to sign players and conversations with players, it may be for somebody above you to discuss this, but it just seems a little strange that you're planning and then come back and it's been cut.
Yeah, so that's I don't run the finances of the club, so I run the football department, and if we say we can't sign a player, then I trust the club that that's the case.
Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you. Thanks.
It was good of Jason Bourne to answer those questions, because they are the questions I think that really, really needed answering. And it is pretty honest a way that Brendan looked at it. Now it's time for him to earn his money. Like you said, he's employed to manage the club. He can either do one of two things. He can spit his dummy out the pram and go, "Oh, you can't give me any money. I'm not stopping." You know, and we know that, you know, some of the managers do that. Or knowing what the relationship he has got with the chairman, looking at post FA Cup, he says, I'll do what I can do within the constraints that you're asking me to do it, and let's see where we are when we come out the other side.
Yeah, exactly. And it more voices and echoes what I literally said there before we listened to it there. And that is, he's a manager. He's not the financial manager. He's not the manager who decides what infrastructures we need to upgrade and improve. Yeah. He's not the owner of the football club. He has his job, and he gets told, you want to improve it. And he's gone, do I have any money? Sorry, Brendan, the money we've got, we're investing in this part of the job, this part of the stadium, Okay, no worries, I'll get on with it. Trust me, if you need it and you can get it available, by all means, sell whoever you wish to make that possible. It's not like he's been told, we don't want you selling anybody, we can't afford, or he's been told, get rid of 7 or 8 players because we're in a shit creek. He's been told, if you want to do that, you have our blessing to sell who it is, but that's the only way you're going to be able to afford to improve the squad you've got because of X, Y, Z, F, W, 4, 7, 1, whatever reason we'll give it. And if he's at the fact that he's gone, like you said, some managers might throw the toys at pram. We might, and we've seen it at other clubs. But this just shows again the respect that anybody who's managed Leicester since his owners come in have for the owners, in the sense that they've gone, all right, fair enough. Fair enough. It's not like they've had a change of heart. I think they were always committed to Brendan wanting to improve his squad, etc. By the means necessary. And again, that goes back to the Leeds days and that, where they chucked money at it to desperately try and make sure they didn't go afloat because they'd messed up as owners and businessmen. Whereas our owners going, we have a plan. We need as much money from our profits as possible to make that affordable. So we're not taking out loans. We're not getting ourselves and this club in a financial state. You want to go get Lukeman or get, Steve from down the road who plays for whoever, fine. But you have to come up with the funds to do it, because we can't do that with what we're trying to do for this club and its future. Because we say it about players, it's the same with managers. It's not going to be here in 20 years' time. We will still want the football club to be here in 20 years' time. You know,
Yeah.
they're thinking on a very wise level, and I really do like the way our owners doing it. And I like the honesty, because Jason Bourne's asked a question that us as fans want to ask. And Brendan, I've got to give credit where it comes from. He's answered that in the way the fans were hoping he'd answer it, by saying, no issues up the top. I've been told that, and I've gone fair dues. I'm getting on with my job. Again, opposite to how we started talking about it, a less petulant person in charge, because he's gone, fair enough, I trust you. And that trust word he says there is very key, because it's all right to flush away a rumour and pretend there's nothing, but secretly there is something. The fact he's gone, I trust them with what they're telling me, tells you a lot about it.
Yeah. I just want to come, and I'm going to cut the actual conference bit. Is there anything that you've seen it that comes up later that we need to watch, or?
No, not really. I mean, he gets asked again about Harvey Barnes and where he's at in terms of it, and he says he might not play the full 70. He might play 70 minutes.
Yeah. Which I guess you expect.
It kind of goes swings and roundabouts on the rest of things.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We can move on to just a couple of things there. Scott says it is more worrying that the likes of Rudkin is in charge of running of the club, i.e., selling players, etc. I understand selling for bigger prices we want, but sometimes you need to move them on. You see, I don't get this criticism of John Rudkin, because whilst John Rudkin has been director of football, we have signed Jamie Vardy, we have signed Riyad Mahrez, we have signed Fofana, we have signed Daka. I mean, I could go on and on. Yes, we've made some bad purchases there. The manager, says these are the players I want, or this is the position I want. I don't think we can claim. We seem to basically stick a pin in Rudkin every time we're not happy with the transfer and go, it's your fault. But we never actually turn around when we get it right or get a real good bargain and go, yeah, well done, John. You did all right there. I don't, I'm sorry, Scott. It is your opinion, and I respect that. But I just can't agree with the blame of Rudkin personally.
No, I don't like it. I don't like the blame on Rudkin. He's done a solid job, and we talk about our owners in such a lovely way. Does he really have a job if he's that crap at it? I don't think so. You don't get that job if you're consistently crap at it.
No, and he's had that job how long?
Probably before the owners came in, didn't he? He had that job, or he was in the club before the owners came in.
He's been in the club because he used to be youth development or something like that.
Yeah.
But he was promoted by Vichai and Top. So he's been here throughout the Pearson era. He's been here throughout the Ranieri. He's been doing it a while.
Yeah.
But
I notice how people are quick to blame Rudkin when something goes wrong with a transfer we bring in, but we won't blame Mike Stow when Casper let in a goal, did we? We didn't go, that's Mike Stow's fault. No.
Yes.
I don't like having scapegoats, because it almost feels like sometimes the fans don't see the backroom staff as a part of the Leicester community. They're happy to go, Vardy missed that chance, but it's Vardy, so we'll let him off because we love him. But Steve, who does the shooting drills, he's crap at his job. Why is he still in charge? Well, you wouldn't be saying that if someone else had brought in Vardy for $1 million and we missed out and he was the top scorer.
Exactly. Now, going back, and we'll make this the last point, because I'm sure we both need to have a rub down with the wet Daily Mail before we come back at 9. And I mentioned this point before, if I said to you, would you sooner have a club that is finishing 3rd, 4th, but be like £1 billion in debt, or would you sooner have a club that's finishing maybe 7th, 8th, 9th and not be in debt? Which would you sooner have?
I'd rather finish 7th, 8th, or 9th, because
we are. Let me just read these out to you. These are the top 5 clubs with the most debt in Europe, and then we'll go to the same one for the Premier League. So the club with the most debt in Europe, surprise, Barcelona. And this was as of the 3rd of June. Okay, Barcelona 1.35 billion in debt. Juventus 900 million euros in debt. Euros, obviously, being Tottenham Hotspur, 826 million in debt. Inter Milan, fourth, 702 million in debt. AC Milan, 666 million in debt. I mean, that is just scary. Now, if we look at this from a Premier League point of view, and I don't know the answer to this, where would you think Leicester were?
Oh, in terms of first being the most debt and 20th
being the most debt, yeah.
I would honestly say that I know the club struggled a bit financially in terms of in terms of the King Power with their being part of airports and that. I would probably say 15th.
Okay, I would have possibly thought bottom three. I don't know. I mean, Mike says their Spurs debt was because of the stadia. Stadia players, tea ladies, tea bags, whatever it is, the club is that much in debt and it has to be paid off at some point, which is obviously why Spurs were trying to get the ESL up and running. Now, according to this sportsbrief.com, and this in fairness just go back to March, so they have had a change of owners, but they've got Chelsea. 1.8 billion pounds in debt. Listed as one of the world's most valuable clubs, Chelsea also has the title of the Premier League club with the most debt in 2022. That's dollars, by the way. Sorry, $1.8 billion. Tottenham Hotspur, second, 838. Third, Manchester United, 561 million. Brighton and Hove Albion, $340 million. That's all it goes to. Oh, no, here we go. How many was that I read out? 1, 2, 3, 4. It then jumps up to 10th. So I do apologise. 10th, West Ham United, 117 million. 9th, Watford, 139. So this is going down. Watford, 139 million. Hang on. Oh, this is the most stupidest website I've ever been on. But apparently it says here, Leicester, we've got 201 million in debt. According to a financial statement by the Foxes for the 1920 season, the COVID-19 pandemic caused a significant revenue loss for the team. In 2020, the club acquired additional land for the expansion of the Foxes' home ground, King Power Stadium. Despite help from the club's owners, the Vichai Top family, the club debt increased to 201 million in the 2021 season. So, we have got the debt. It's manageable debt. But I'd sooner be there than at the other end of the scale with, there's literally there's literally 4 teams below us with less debt.
Yeah.
West Ham 117, Watford 139, Wolves 140, Bournemouth 145. So those are the clubs that are below us. And what have they won?
Exactly.
So
it's actually disgusting when you think about it. How, this could be a topic for a completely different show. But how is it that clubs in the lower divisions, get themselves into badly run, and it's no fault of the fans and everything in the club. But how come a club like say Bury or Bolton or whatever can go millimeters from seconds from not existing, or happen to even go out of existence and rebuild like Bury have themselves, right? And there's no leeway, absolutely zero leeway. They're given the bare minimum to sort it out, and after that, fuck you, you're out. But you're Barcelona, under the worst of circumstances, for a club that hasn't spent any money, has just probably added another 300 million on top of their debt. It's disgusting that they're still allowed to exist. And it's the fear of losing big clubs that really pisses me off in this sport, because I guarantee you, right, and I'm not saying these clubs were able to accumulate such debt, but if name a random team that's in the Championship or lower, Chris, because my mind's gone blank. Come on,
Watford.
Watford. Let's just say that their owners suddenly announced that it'd been a complete catastrophe and they were 1 billion in debt. Let's flip it and say it's Watford and not Barcelona. Liquidation, club's gone. Thank you very much. See you later. Unless there's a takeover, no way. But Barcelona are still allowed to bring in 300 million. It's absolutely farcical. Absolutely farcical.
110% agree with you. And what I would say, obviously, these facts I'm quoting are off just random websites that you Google and brings up. So that their accuracy is certainly up there for question. It's as Terry said there, the debt is owned to the King Power Holdings Company. So it's just a tax efficient way of doing the balance sheet. I mean, after that, I actually then went on to another website that informed me that let's have a look. How many clubs had no debt apparently at all in the Premier League? I don't know how to work that out. Apparently Newcastle haven't.
No, surprise.
Chelsea haven't. Nottingham Forest haven't. Manchester City haven't any debt. I mean, I'm sorry. So you take these things with a pinch of salt, but it's just to make the point that we were getting to, which I think we made very well. That was a lot more involved than I thought it was going to be, but a absolutely fantastic discussion.
Yeah, not bad for a 4 minute and 40-second video.
Not at all. Not at all. Brad, thank you so much. I will see you again at 9 o'clock. You have your own channel, A Matter of Opinion. The link to it is below in the chat. Del Boy's in. And what's the crack, Del Boy? How the devil are you, sir? Welcome along. Tell people where they can find you. And you did a show yesterday.
Yeah, I did a show yesterday at 8 p.m. The channel, A Matter of Opinion, is literally what it says on the tin, like Ron Sale. You know, it's a place where we discuss topics every Thursday, live at 8 p.m. Find me on Twitter. We did a 90s nostalgia night yesterday that was brilliant. It did really well. You can catch up with that. The link's in my Twitter, which is at Fulltime Focus. And if you search A Matter of Opinion as it is on the screen, you'll find it on YouTube. And if you're new, give it subscribe. That'd be brilliant. And yeah, that's just what we do. That's what I do over there on that channel.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. I will see you at 9. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Enjoy it as always.
Take care, mate. Have a good
Take
one.
Care.
See you in 90 minutes.
Yes, I'll see you in the time it takes Leicester to lose a game of football.
This is true. Oh no, in fairness, that's 96 minutes usually.
yes, usually.
Catch you later, mate. Cheers.
Catch you later. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Thanks to Brad for coming on. He, like me, needs to say have a quick wash and shower and rub down with the wet copy of the Daily Mail. And we will be back. Oh yes, you can't get enough of us. Well, hopefully you can't, but we're back and I'll be telling you what we're doing straight after this.
Hello, Matt Elliott here.
Hi, Alan Smith here.
Hey guys, Ian Hume here.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here.
Be sure to watch
Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV
for all the latest Leicester City news and information.
You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels
for the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Come on, you foxes!
Indeed. We will be back 9 o'clock. Don't touch those dials. Thank you for watching. If you've been listening on your favourite podcast platform, thank you very much for doing that. 9 o'clock, we'll be back with a Q&A show. And I think Fofana might just get a few mentions in that as well. Take care, stay safe. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I will see you in 90 minutes.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
Cool. I'm out of here. Ooh, that's a wrap.
Some people are on the pitch. They think it's all over.